So for the first time in the history of the Kentucky Derby, the horse that crossed the line first has been disqualified.
They sit in a small room.
Therefore, we unanimously determined to disqualify number 7.
And make big decisions.
I know the stewards had a very, very difficult decision.
If you want to question their rulings and punishments,
they've been about as non-transparent about this whole thing as anything I've ever seen in my life.
you might encounter maximum steward security.
We are not going to have any questions.
After the historic disqualification of maximum security in the 2019 Kentucky Derby, Wave 3 News decided to take a closer look at the rulings issued by Kentucky's horse racing stewards. I opened, examined, and took notes on every one of the rulings made over the past 3 years, more than 100 annually. The first thing that stands out, maximum security's rider, Luis Saez, was given a 15-day suspension for a ride that is still being debated after his camp provided video evidence of what they believe shows their horse veering out of the way because it was being repeatedly contacted from behind. While Saez got 15 days, 37 other jockeys over the past 3 years got 3-day suspensions for their rides by the stewards. One got 4 days and one got 6 days. When I went back and reviewed the races where riders got far lesser suspensions, many of them appeared to be worse than the Derby ride. Like jockey Greg Romero's horse in 2018, veering left, taking out a horse and dumping the rider. June 23rd, Chantel Sutherland's horse cut off a horse on the rail, dumping the rider. Gabriel Saez taking out the horse on the rail, dumping the horse and the rider. Truth be told, veering out twice, at least 5 paths, cutting off many. Javier Castellano's horse in this race at Keeneland veering left badly and taking 2 horses out. Tyler Gaffleone's horse going left, slamming another onto the rail, which ended up costing that one the win. There are many more examples than I have time to show, getting 3-day suspensions, while the Derby ride got 15 days. I requested an interview with Chief State Racing Steward Barbara Borden about the rulings they've made over the past 3 years. She never returned my call or email. 2 days after the Public Protection Cabinet led me to believe there would be an interview, I was informed Borden would not be available.
Any steward's decision is somebody's not going to like it one way or the other.
I shared my findings on the riding suspension disparities with former Kentucky Chief Racing Steward Bernie Heddle, recently hired as Chief Steward in Arkansas, to see if he can explain it.
I think you'd have to ask the Board of Stewards of Churchill Downs.
Heddle represents Luis Saez in his appeal of the 15-day Derby suspension, so he won't talk about that case.
All these seem to be that I'm looking at are veer-outs. At what point do you cross the line to being punished?
Well, the gold standard with this is how it affected the outcome of the race. And again, that gets very judgmental. What's your valued, educated opinion as a steward going to be on what that infraction caused the result of the race?
The other item that stands out when analyzing the stewards' rulings is the number of drug test failures by horses who win. 138 of the 333 stewards' rulings I analyzed over the past 3 years, 41% of them were drug-related. As bad as this search of trainers Jerry and Amanda Dimmitt's barn at Turfway Park this past January that found injectable medications, hypodermic syringes, and needles, netting them a 90-day suspension.
I think that probably every state has a drug problem.
Billy Reed has written about horse racing and other sports for 60 years.
The industry, yes, I think it's in a more precarious position going forward than it's ever been. I think there still are trainers who are really trying to scuffle and make a living, who will, they'll take chances with drugs.
And some of these that you note in your statistics are horses that have been treated properly, but it's remained in the system too long. Sometimes people go over the line, though. There's that mentality with some people to take the advantage, and that's when stewards have really got to get busy and put punitive damages on when somebody does that.
Penalties assessed include disqualifications, fines up to $10,000, and suspensions up to 1 year. Often, the purse money is redistributed, but one thing you will not find, redistribution of payouts to bettors who lost to horses that got DQ'd for drug test failures long after they left the track.